How's it going, guys? The voting for Nemesis 6 is open. What is Nemesis? Basically, happy Austerlitz anniversary day. The Eugene himself gives us three options, three pairs of divisions, right? Three pairs to vote for, and whichever pair wins, they will make. So you can vote. I'll link the votey thing in the description, and I will give you a brief rundown of all of the options. First things first, though. So basically, you click this, right, and that'll be linked in the description, etc. So it says start, and then you click on whichever one you want. I'll talk about why I'm voting 6.2. And then it asks for this, and this is the part that kind of stumps everybody, right? So it used to be back in the day that your Eugen account was linked to, well, if you wanted to play Eugen games, you would buy on Steam and then you would have to make an account in game. Now with Warno, it either makes automatically or it doesn't matter anymore. So for your Ugenet email address, just put, if you don't have one, I've got one because I started playing in Wargame Red Dragon where you had to do that. If you started with Warno, I believe you just list your Steam account email address. I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure if this is actually used for anything. Whenever we ask them about it, they just basically decline to answer. So yeah, if you've got a UGenNet email address, put that in. If you don't know what it is, put the email address associated with the Steam account that you used to buy the game. Anyway, I do have some summaries on the channel for all of these Nemesis options. Each one took about an hour, so that's 6 hours of content. So obviously, I would not be upset if you don't want to watch 6 hours to cast your thing. So I'm just going to give you a brief rundown of these three options, and then we're going to talk about which one I voted for. I've not actually pressed the button yet, but I suppose you already know the answer because you just saw it. Anyway, so Nemesis 6.1 are the Mountaineers, and that represents the high fighting mountainous forces of NATO's French 27E Alpine Division against Warsaw Pact's Polish WOW Division. So essentially, the French option is pretty cool. It's yet another light French division, which, yeah. And there are some new things in it. Basically, they've got some Spanish air mobile troops helping them out. So honestly, it's a pretty decent div. It would be cool. The main changes, the main new stuff is in the infantry tab. So you get a bunch of Mountaineer squads. You get some Eric's Mountaineer squads, which is cool. And then you get a bunch of people in yellow. You get a bunch of Spanish people. And like, check this out. So they get an M65 with incendiary ammo. So that's like the first RPG that deals damage against infantry. I guess they're rolling it as like a thermobaric, like a just waiting for the game to open if you didn't notice. Oh wait, have I had this on? No, never mind. You can't see my face. I do need a shave though. So essentially, Eric's, right, very cool, very powerful squad, but it won't be airborne, it'll be Mountaineer. So it'll probably cost about the same, actually, but it'll be Mountaineer instead of airborne, which means they go faster through forests. And then, yeah, you get some Spanish guys. This M65 is the Super Bazooka. So basically it'll be like this, except it'll fire against infantry, so that'll be the first anti-infantry proper rocket launcher in the game. It sounds like they're just going to make it like Saperi RPO, but it's still very cool, right? So maybe it'll also be able to shoot at vehicles, like they'll have one weapon for vehicles, one weapon for infantry. Either way, that's something that's really missing from the game, because if you look at nations like Canada or even Britain, the Carl Gustav fires HE, and the Canadians were really big on that. They were like really big on Carl Gustav's firing HE rounds, and in game they just don't get it. And because they don't get the flash or the RPO, they just don't have a HE rocket launcher, and it's the same for Britain. So, yeah, it would be cool to see this. The other stuff's kind of boring, right? So it's like 105 millimeter guns, towed guns, towed guns. The tank stuff is literally just nothing new, right? So the X Saggy, which is already in the game, the AML-90, which is already in the game, so they're light tanks, right? You know, light tank, and basically this division is a mix between 152 Easy, Do Rhine, and 11E. So it's kind of it's not that amazing, but you know most of the stuff's in the infantry, and there are some Spanish units in there, right? So and like a couple more planes, and then the Polish one is like really bad. It's basically like the French Spanish one in that the only new stuff are infantry, but then their tanks are T-34s and T-55s, and they really dropped the ball on this because they said this is a new T-34 M2, and we're going to change absolutely nothing. It's going to be the same, except it will get more fuel. So, big wasted opportunity there. They could have just made it way faster, right? They could have made the gun shoot longer. They could have done anything. Added some cope cages to them, right? Make them go faster because they souped up the engine. Make it shoot further because they trained more. Or maybe, you know, but it's like these historians, man. I can't stand them. They really are the most deserving of the wood chipper. They're like, oh, it's not realistic. Oh, okay. So this division has been ruined by historians, I'm afraid. So yeah, 6.1, not very cool, simply because the Polish division is really bad. It's bad in terms of lack of originality, and it's bad in terms of, I guess, this cool AA piece, which is pretty cool. And it's bad in terms of like viability because all they get is T-34 M2s, which is just the same as the M1, and T-55Us, which they've just made the same as the T-55A. So that's a big shame. So that's 6.1, and it is the least popular option because of the historians. So 6.2 is a very popular option. It's probably worth noting. So I did an exit poll on my I'm very satisfied, thank you. Uh, I did a poll, right, and you can vote in the poll, and as you can see, 6.1 is the least popular with 1,400 votes. Obviously, this isn't the poll, right, but it's a nice representation, and 6.2 is the most popular. 6.2, essentially the American option, and like I said, if you want to see the full kind of 1.5 hour breakdown, then you can check the description because I go through this in excruciating detail. This is just a brief recap for people who touch grass and stuff and they don't have time to listen. But they do have time to listen to me thank the generous channel joiners generously joining the channel. They get the names on the screen, they get the videos early, they get the channel member exclusive videos. One join at the lowest level is worth 2,000 views in ad revenue equivalents. That's why I shill so much. This is my sole source of income. I'm trying to get to a point where I don't need to get a job. We're not there yet. Otherwise, please just like the video. It's free and it makes YouTube recommend it to more people. Anyway, this is the US 1st Cavalry Division, which are the guys from We Was Soldiers. So, you know, where's Mel Gibson? So, look, it's Mel Gibson in We Was Soldiers. I'm trying to find one where he actually has the patch on his arm, like, because he does, and yeah, there it is. You can just about see it there. This is the famous one, right? And there it is. Wow, there it is right there. Wow, it's the same. So yeah, this is Mel Gibson, and basically, this division's really cool in that it's an M1 Abrams and Bradley division with a few new M1 and Bradley variants. And you might be like, well, that's already in the game. Well, it's not really. So if you want Bradleys, you have two choices. Third Armoured, which is just hilariously difficult to play in 1v1 because everything's super expensive. And so you have to so this is the Bradley, right? And yeah, you can get it, and you get a decent number of slots, I suppose. And like this is your cheapest IFV is 105 points, and it's like, I suppose that is the same as arm rifles with a warrior replique. Um, but yeah, the Bradleys are very expensive, and your tanks are all like, so you get the CEV, and that's useless against anything that's not infantry. So then your tanks are all like mega heavy tanks, and it just takes you ages to buy them, and then you lose the game. And the only other, and like this recon Bradley's in 4 divs, but in terms of infantry Bradleys, there's only one other division that gets them, and that's 24th, and it's bad for the exact opposite reason. It's all reservist slop. And yeah, here's your M1 Abrams, but you can't vet it, and it's reservist. And so this is one of the worst divisions in the game. The vet locked reservist Bradleys, and they're still 60 points, and they're reservist, and you can't upvet them. This is the main reason why 24th is bad. If you could upvet this, and upvet this, and upvet this, it would be a good division. But you can't, so it isn't. So basically, the Americans are mega hyped for this division, as am I. Not because it's got the most new stuff, but because it's finally going to be a Bradley division that you can actually play. The kind of the sticking point is that they say infantry will be one of the most truncated categories for an armored division in Warno. So what does that mean? Because if you look at, because there's already a horsey div in the game, and that's 11th cavalry, and this has 5 slots. And so, will it only be 5 slots, or when they say division, do they mean regiment is not division? Therefore, it'll be more slots because 3rd Armored Division has 7. So, does that mean that 1st will have 6, or does it mean 1st will have 5? Or does, when they say the most truncated, does that mean it'll have less than 11, so it'll have 4? I reckon it'll be 6. That's my guess. I don't have pre-existing knowledge of that. I reckon it would be 6. Because it's not a regiment, it's a division. And the Brits are bringing some infantry as well. And so there's like loads of cool infantry in here. The only issue is there's like 0 new British units. Like, okay, the Brits are coming to help with a bunch of stuff they already have. But it's an interesting idea. And yeah, in the tanks, there's like an M1 mod, which is an upgraded base M1 Abrams, which will have 17 front armor, which is very important because it means that it won't die in one shot to a. Because look, this is 18, and then this it says that this will be. It'll be up armored, but it will be 17, so that's very important because it means it doesn't get one shot by a 30 AP missile, which is every AT plane in the game bar 2, which incidentally the dev blog actually points out. So, but yeah, the side armor is above 6 already, which means it doesn't get one shot side shot by Conkers, which is very important actually, because if you look at something like a Leopard 2, all of them, even like the mega expensive Ultra one, gets one shot side shot by Conkers. And, when it happens, obviously it's bad news, depending on whose team you're on. So, yeah, the other interesting thing is it says this MOD variant will also receive the Gulf War's depleted uranium ammo to increase its tank gun's penetration. So, given that it's still 105mm on the base Abrams, unlike the M1A1, which is 120, so the question is, right, so here's regular M1A1 AP 20, here's the depleted uranium round 22. So when this goes, will it go to 19? Will it go to 18? Will it go to 20? I've seen some people say it should be 21 on a 105mm gun. I don't know about that. But the AMX-30B2 Brennus is firing an imaginary... Okay, it's not. It's like a March to War French depleted uranium projectile on a 105mm gun. And that's 19 pen. So it might have 19 pen and 17 armor. So that's interesting. Then, it's got like some like new Bradley recon vehicles with exceptional optics. Honestly, there isn't that much new stuff in here. It gets like an anti-air Bradley, so it's like a Bradley with the ability to shoot helicopters, and it gets an EM drone, and it sadly the AA doesn't get any long range AA. And it's jets. Like, so they're like, oh, the RAF and the US Air Force are going to be combining here, and it's like, oh, that's cool. So we'll get top tier American fighters and top tier British bombers. No, you get second tier British fighters, and you get second tier American bombers. Anyway, so that's my favorite division, and it's not because it's got the most new stuff. It's because it's because third armored and 24th are crap. So it's really something, man. I mean, and I think that's why people want to play it. It's not the. It's objectively speaking, this is not the best option, and that'll become more clear as we cover first. I think it's literally just 24th US is so bad that everybody wants this. There is another angle to this, which I suppose we might as well cover it now. They've released, and I did a video on this as well. They've released a roadmap as to the next big expansions, and it's going to be Landjut, which is U.S. Marines, Soviet Marines, Denmark, and potentially more West Germans and stuff. And then it's going to be some kind of Balkan throwdown thing called Black Birds or something. And so if you want to learn more about that, it'll be linked in the description. It's, where the hell is it? God, I need to edit. There we go. Massive Warno roadmap adds Albania and Tom Cruise, right? And it talks about like the next three DLCs, the Nemesis and the two big expansions. So if you think about the divisions that are going to be included in those, there's probably not going to be a heavy American division because the Marines didn't have the Abrams. They all had M60s in the Gulf War, apart from like one battalion or something like that. And so they'll probably just give them M60s. And then this Balkan throwdown thing is not going to have them. And so there will be more opportunities for the West Germans to have heavy stuff, which incidentally, 6.3... But, like, when's the next time we're going to get an American heavy division? I mean, I don't see it happening for a long time by this. It's potentially, because Nemesis, they only let us vote every other Nemesis, so we don't fuck it up too much. And so potentially Nemesis 7 could be a heavy American div, but I don't see it personally. Whereas I think Landjut could still have a heavy West German div. In fact, I mean, I don't have prior knowledge of this, but the previous West German Nemesis option, like 6th Panzer Division or something like that, that is in the Landjut area, and it didn't win the vote, so that's probably going to be in... Anyway, it's all speculation. So this is pure slop, right? I mean... I always get this inkling that when they're writing these things, they want one of them to win, and it's like when I see it, I have no evidence, but when I see it, I can't unsee it, and it's just so obvious to me that they wanted this one to win because they wrote this really good American one, and the Russian one, because you have to get two divs. You have to get the NATO one, which is what everybody always votes for, and then there's always this packed sloppage appendage on it. And this is just pure slop. Pure slop. Pure slop. 0 new units in the Logi tab. 1 new unit in the Inf tab, and it's a reservist transport APC. 0 new units in the Arty tab. 3 new units in the tank tab, maybe 4. Like, it's 2 more T-72s. And a better anti-tank towed gun. And an attacker missile thing. So this is like a good tab. Recon. 2 or 1.5 new units. AA, 0 new units. Helis, 0 new units. Air, 2 new units. So this pure slop. Pure slop. I wish I was this guy right now so my mate could accidentally blow my head off while I'm shaving. Because, I mean, this is literally like a sabotage attempt. That's how it reads. It reads as a here's your cool American div, and here's why you shouldn't vote for it. Here's an infantry tab with 0 new units, except a new transport. A logi tab with 0 new units. An arty tab with 0 new units. A tank tab with 4 new units. And, a recon tab where... Oh, I forgot the UAV. There's actually 3 units here. One of which you won't use. And, an AA tab with 0 new units. Like, I mean, pure sloppage. Pure sloppage. Which brings us to 6.3. Which, I'll just say right now, is objectively the best option. Because I'm a man of principle, right? You want the best value for money, surely. You want the most new units and the newest ways to play the game. Surely that's what you want in life. I mean, just objectively speaking. I'm not voting for this one, by the way, because I just really want to play that American div, and I'm willing to accept the slop in exchange for my American div. And I think a lot of people have come to the same conclusion. So if you're a rational gamer, basically you should vote Nemesis 6.3 because it has the most new stuff and it has like unique units in terms of unique ways to play the game. So let's go through it. I mean, so the Hitchhikers Division 42 is it's another West German division. It's got a bunch of overlap, right? So it's only a new unit in the Logi. Well, I suppose in the Logi tab, what else are you going to get that's new? It does have, a new supply truck. Great. The infantry tab brings some, like 1 new unit, I guess, or two new units, or I guess 3 new units. So less new units than the American one in the infantry tab. The RT tab has 0 new units. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention in the American one in 6.2 they're getting like a laser guided so M109 laser guided, so that is new. But it's just a self-propelled version of something that's already in the game because the CLGP is in the game as a towed gun, so it would be this but on an M. So it would cost 260 points because it's self-propelled and, that's life in it. Anyway, back to 6.3. So the tank tab's where it gets really interesting. So this is our first completely kind of new way to play the game unit. Oh, well, I suppose 6.2 gets the electronic warfare drone, which I guess is new to play the game, like a new way to play the game. But this is the glassest cannon, or the cannoniest glass, I suppose. Essentially, Leopard 1s, their niche in the game is that they are a glass cannon tank. They've got a nice big gun with a nice fire rate and nice accuracy for a low price, and the low price is because their armor's crap. So this will get one shot by a Milan 2 because it's only got 9 armor. So these are good against tanks, but they are bad against ATGMs because a Milan 2 will one-shot them. This one, the Leopard 1A6, is going to have a 120mm gun on it, and presumably the same armor. So it's probably going to have like 20 or 21 pen, probably 20. 20 pen on a 9 armor vehicle is actually really interesting in terms of there's nothing like that in the game. Leopard 1s are already the glass cannon unit, and this is going to be a super glassy cannon because it's going to have 20 pen but still only have 9 armor, so that's going to be very interesting. And it's like, how do you price that unit? Because that is a good question. How do you price that unit? Because it's going to hit, because if you're a pro, right, because there's already this thing at the top of the game there's a couple players who are like Leopard 1s are OP, and they say that because whenever the ATGM comes towards them, they smoke before it hits them, because they've got 3,000 hours in the game. Whereas most of the player base doesn't notice, and then they die in one hit. So it'll be a very interesting unit to have in the game, because how do you price it? Because basically pros are going to get way more value out of it than anybody else, because they're never going to let them die, or at least they'll die less to ATGMs. Yeah, so that's a new way to play the game. And then the Leopard 2A4D, which is it's gonna have C-type armor, and it's gonna have a new gun sensor. So it's presumably gonna be a Leopard 2A4C with more armor, which incidentally will probably mean that it doesn't get one shot by a Conkers on the side armor. So that would be nice. And it'll presumably have 70% accuracy because it's got this new sensor thing. I mean, what else is that going to do except make the accuracy better? Or they could just do the retarded thing they did with the Polish division and say, here's a new tank, it's just like the old one. But yeah, I would assume it would have 70% base accuracy and 7 side armor and maybe 19 front armor. I don't know where the armor's going. So that would be like a 300-point tank, basically. And then some TKS stuff. Lots of reservists and things like that, and Avclair Armada 1A3, which is going to be cool because it's going to have mediocre stealth most likely, and so it probably costs about 95 points or something like a Razvedka BMP2. It'll have 5 armor, it might be like 85, because the Milan one's obviously not as good as the Conkers, but that will be cool for the for that division. It will be absolutely horrible to fight against, because it won't die in one hit, because it has 5 armor. So your tank's just going to get harassed all game by... Anyway, I'm hyperventilating just thinking about having to deal with it. And anyway, it's going to be like a meta div, because it gets High Hawks and tanks and infantry and Marders, and, So this... Oh yeah, the heli tab's really weird, because it gets a SIGINT unit, which... I guess we have to talk about those. The only SIGINT things in the game in helicopters are all recon, but this is going to be in the heli tab, and it looks like it doesn't have a gun on it. So I'm not sure if they just wrote this in the wrong place. Like, how does this work? Does it have a gun on it? Because like that doesn't have a gun on it. I don't see one. So basically, it's just going to be a piece of junk. Anyway, so then there's the AIM 9F, which isn't in the game yet, and I couldn't tell if they meant the AIM 7F but a few people commented in the, if you want to watch the mega long videos, a few people commented in that, giving me the deets on the AIM 9F. Basically, it's worse. It's just a worse side missile. If that's the one they mean, it's just bad. So, and so yeah, it's AA's, nothing to write home about. So the German one is going to have the heaviest Leopard 2. And, right, look at this. Here's a Leopard 1A3A1, which we make the same as a Leopard 1A1A1. Doo. They're giving it this instructor trait, though. Oh, yeah, I guess I have to talk about that. So, essentially, they've done this. If you recall, the one that won Nemesis 2, the one that won 76Y, one of the reasons it won is because it got this drone that they kept talking up. And obviously, if you've come into the game since this came out, you'll be like, well, what's the deal? Everybody gets drones. Yeah, at the time they didn't, and they were like, wow, bro, drone, only drone in the game, bros. And then they just added drones to like a bunch of different divisions, and like every other new division gets a drone. Half of these options get drones, and they kind of sold it to us as like, vote for me, or you will never get drones. And they're back at it again with this thing, the instructor trait, which is it's basically a CV that doesn't cap zones mixed with a military police. So this is a fundamental issue with the game, actually, and it's like 24th is a perfect example of this. So you can't vet the tanks, because this division came out before 35th, where you also get National Guard units, but you cannot vet them. And so at Nova, it takes 7 minutes for your cohesion to go from 0 back up to full. At 1 vet, it takes 3. So it's a huge difference. And so you need to vet it somehow, and the only way to do that is to bring a CV, which costs more than the bloody thing, and they're very low availability, right? And so, like, why I need all these CVs so I can actually use my tanks, and they always get sniped because they're a priority unit. You've only got a few of them, and it's still reservist. So you also have to add a military police vehicle, which means you need to bring those as well. And so you've got this to use this one tank, which is 10 points cheaper than the one that isn't reservist, and you don't have to do any of this for, and it can be upvetted. You have to bring a 240 point CV and a 25-point military police vehicle and just micro them all around together as a blob. And then if your enemy's got any sense, he kills the CV first, and he kills a military police vehicle first, because that'll die in one hit because it's not armored. And yeah, so it's just a big issue. So they've proposed this solution, which is that some tanks will have the instructor trait, such as that tank I was complaining about. It's identical. The way it's going to be different is it'll have the instructor trait. That's what this Lyra means. So that will solve a fundamental problem in the game. But the way they've worded it is like, bro, you need to vote for this if you want the instructor trait. But we saw with the drones that clearly wasn't the case, right? They're not just going to be like, well, you didn't vote for the one. It's so obvious they want this one to win. I reckon if this doesn't win, you're still going to get your instructor traits. That's my personal thought process, and the evidence I would supply to that is the drone saga. Anyway, so we get to the Pact division, which incidentally is the only good Pact option. It's the least slop Pact option. I'll admit 6.2, reading it back, isn't as slop as I first thought it was, but 6.2b, the Pact option, has so few new units, whereas this, essentially, it's like a true reservist division, but it was part of a training school. So this is the best Pact option, like undoubtedly it is. So you get like a new unit, and then like the entire imp squad has loads of new units, unlike the 6.2 one, which literally has 0. I mean, if I could choose, right? If I could choose freely, I'd vote. I'd just get all the NATO ones because they're all more interesting than all the Pact ones. But if I had to choose a NATO and a Pact, I would choose the American one in 6.2 for the NATO, and then I would choose 6.3's Pact option, because this is pure sloppage. Pure sloppage. I mean, look at the inf tab is just everything's the same, except you get a new reservist vehicle. They didn't even try. They didn't come up with one new infantry unit. And in the recon tab, they didn't come up with one new infantry recon unit. It's all just the same. This is something that might change downrange, but you can't. And there has been evidence of that. So if you recall, in the HDR devlog, there were no air mobile terriers, and now there are air mobile terriers. So there is room for a bit of change. But if you look at this one, like, it's all new. Or a lot of it's new. So you get instructor squads, and you get a bunch of reservist shite, basically, but then you run the instructor squads with them, and that should help. The arty isn't really not great. It's all Toad except the grads. And then the tanks, you get a bunch of new tanks, including T-62s, which only come on 2 divisions in the game. So 3 new T-62 variants. A new T-64, which is already in the game, but it'll be an instructor version. And a new T-72, which I guess is already in the game, but it'll be an instructor version. I'm not sure what the T-72A actually is, compared to the regular T-72. Oh. But then this one doesn't have the numbers on it, so who knows. Anyway, you'll also get the heaviest T-72 in the game, the OBR-89. So that's presumably going to be the newest one, because it's going to be, 89 momented. So, because that's the 84, and the 89 apparently had more armor on it. So who knows how that's going to work, because like the ERA doesn't buff the front armor for some reason, it only buffs the side armor. Because like the T-72B does have that on it, but they said it's like Contact 5. I don't know what Contact version this is. It's all Lego to me, man. So it'll be better somehow than the one on the left. maybe. It might have the max range gun. So the heaviest T-72. The recon tab, 0 new units. And then, yeah, the AA tab is a bit underwhelming. Basically, the BRDM Streller 1, and then some manpads that are the worst manpads, and this thing which is really good against infantry. Oh, yeah, I forgot. There's, so this is like some sort of heavy truck with a ZU on it, 60mm something. The other thing was the other new way to play the game. So they've invented a new vehicle, sort of, which is good. I'm a big fan of that. Essentially, it's a T-55 with no turret, and they use it as an APC. And apparently the Lebanese used it. And so did the hospital destroyers. So that's really cool, because there's nothing like that in the game. There's no APC that has 11 front armor. So it's going to be a very heavily armoured APC with just a 50 cal on it, and it'll just transport your troops around, and you can actually get your troops up to the enemy, because I mean the main usage of it will be, against enemies that don't have strong AT. They're just going to run out of ammo before they kill them all, and you can run them in front of your tanks, and they'll take like 3 hits to kill. It depends what's shooting at them, right? But against like enemy tanks, they're going to take a lot of hits to kill. And so you can run them in front of your tanks, and you can use them to actually get into a town and unload, as opposed to always unloading outside the town, because you don't want to get one shot and lose your whole squad. So that's a new way to play the game, because there's nothing in the game like that. And then for the planes, they said it's like the Soviet Top Gun, so it's going to be the best MiG in the game, which was recently added to 2Y. But it's going to be like Top Gun version, so presumably it's going to come at 2VET for free. That's my assumption, like the German F4F Top Guns, which are like 2VET by default or whatever. While maintaining its 2 availability. So basically, best Soviet plane in the game. Best Soviet tank in the game, maybe. Or best T-72 in the game. So essentially, this is the summary now, I suppose. I did say I wanted to make this a short video, apparently I'm incapable of it. Do vote for whatever you want. I personally, even though 6.3 has the best packed option, or at least the only non-slop packed option, and the only, and 2 new ways to play the game, whereas America 6.2 will only have 1 new way to play the game, in terms of that EW drone. And 6.1, I guess, has 1 new way to play the game, in the form of that bazooka with HE. HE bazooka, finally. It's funny because it's a super bazooka, so it's one of the oldest AT in the game, and it's getting the new capability. Anyway, so if you're thinking purely logically, like a German, then 6.3 makes the most sense in terms of bang for your buck. And I hope that's shown through in this quote-unquote quick summary. But I'll be voting 6.2, and that's because I really want to play as the American division. I want a Bradley division that I can actually play, and I don't know when else we're going to get it. Because they just seem like, think about all the American options that get added to this game, they're all slop. I mean, well, okay, not slop. They're all like light divisions. Like, look, this got added light division. This got added light division. This got added reservists. This got added reservists. And those are all the newest added ones, right? And I guess this was added, and this was air assault. The only like proper I would see them as proper American divisions, M1 Abrams, right? Bradleys. The only divisions like that are 3rd, 8th, and 11th. 11th was kind of like an early access thing. 8th doesn't have any Bradleys, and 3rd doesn't have any medium tanks, and 24th is reservist slop. And so if you actually just want an Abrams plus Bradley division, it doesn't really exist. You gotta play 24th, and 24th sucks balls because it's all National Guard and it can't be upvetted. Because unlike 35th, where the National Guard can be upvetted, 24th suffers from the simple problem that it came out first, which is before they started doing this. So yes, I'll be voting 6.2 and throwing Pact down the river, which is what they deserve anyway. Anyway, do vote for whatever you want. Tell me what you voted for, right? You can, if you don't want to use your words, just fill out the poll. The exit poll gives us a pretty good idea of where things stand at the moment. And I'll see you around. Have a lovely day.